So if you can get the book by next week, because we'll really get started today. So we have a couple ground rules for being here. Because I'm a teacher by trade, there's some things I really require. I don't do the black screens. So if you're gonna be here, I know it's maybe an inconvenience for sisters, but you're gonna have to have your screen on because I don't like engaging with a black screen. So I know it may take you a few minutes to get it together. I know you may have to clean your room or do whatever you need to do, but I don't engage with black screens because in teaching, you have to see people's faces so that you can see if they understand what you're saying. Um, so yeah, you probably could be like Samir and switch to your phones. Phones is very easy to use a phone instead of using your computer. So that's one. We will start at 5 o'clock because time is sacred. We said we'll start at 5, so I'll be here. Well, inshallah, she'll open it up, maybe 4:55 before that, so we can go ahead and get started at 5 o'clock. What we wanted to do today, I wanted everybody to, and really this is for people who are in Memphis and who are engaged in the society here in Memphis, because our city is pretty unique, unlike any other city in the country, partially because Martin Luther King was killed here, and partially because of our geographic location. There's a reason that chose Memphis, because it's geographically at the center of the country. So we'll generally be talking about things that affect Memphis. Sometimes, the Muslim community. Can we turn that? Make sure you turn your mic off when you come in. Who's that? Sometimes we always talk about the world, but here, I hope everybody has a notebook as well. Make sure you have a notebook. So, Usman, you have a notebook?
No, sir, I do not. I actually just got back home from somewhere. I'm about to grab one.
Alhamdulillah, thank you. Miriam Kayata, you're a former student, so you should have a notebook, right? I know you have one.
Yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah. All right. Thank you, Samir, for leading the charge. Layla. Oh my Lord, why is echoing here? Assalamualaikum, Layla.
Hi, assalamualaikum.
I'm still seeing a lot of black screens. And Sam, assalamualaikum, and Sam.
Alaikum salam.
How you doing?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. How your parents?
They're good. They send their salam.
Salam.
I will.
Are y'all going to Michigan this summer?
I think we will. My brother's already up there, so.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, he's always up there.
Oh, okay. How did he get there? He took the train, plane, or automobile?
No, they came to visit a couple weeks ago, and he went back with them.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Ready or Kayat. So I'm gonna go down the list. I'm gonna call a couple people out here and tell me when you think of a reason for you to be interested in activism. I want you to tell me why. All right. So what's your motivation? What's your why? All right, Sally.
Yeah. So what's my motivation for engaging in activism?
Yes.
Well, for me, seeing injustice, seeing the injustice, I feel like I can't react without, I can't be silent. I need to react in some way. So activism is a way of doing that.
Okay. Everybody else, write yours in the chat. I'll call you if I don't get to you. All right. Samir.
Yeah, I think it's our duty as Muslims. I mean, it's what our faith preaches. You see it in our history, that you always fight for whoever is being oppressed and justice for everybody, no matter who it is. I think I had mentioned before that the treaty during the time of the Prophet, where a man in Mecca got, there's some injustice being done to him, and they all came together that, it doesn't matter where you're from, what your background is, justice is justice, and we always have to stand on the side of what's right, no matter who it's against or who's doing it, to just always stand on the side. So it's something that should be, if we're practicing Muslims, this is part of our faith, and that's something that we should always remember.
Okay. So, Taysir. Taysir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, maybe it doesn't work. Assalamualaikum. I think my main motivation, like whenever that topic comes up, the first thing that comes to mind is that ayah in the Quran that says always be persistently standing firm in justice, and it's simply that we're commanded to do so. So that is my motivation. As simple as the answer is, I don't know.
Life doesn't have to be very. Life can be simplistic. That's okay. All right. Now, I want you to tell me, in the city of Memphis, I want you to type in something. What is an issue that you are really, 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 really committed to solving in this city? What is something in this city that you feel like, man, if we could just solve this particular problem, we really make progress? Now, I'm gonna give you a minute. I want you, we're gonna give everybody a second. You don't have to come. Some of you, it may come off the top of your head. You may have really, thought about it. Let me set my timer here. All right. All right, 25 seconds. Oh, Uzair's driving. Okay. Please pay attention to the road. That's a problem in Memphis, driving. All right, time's up. All right, so I'm looking here. So, Miriam Kayata, tell me what you got.
So I was talking about the problems within education. So the fact that our schools are very segregated, and the discrepancy between funding, where Memphis City schools receive less funding than the suburb rich white schools, and how that translates to the education they receive, and what the students can end up being able to accomplish, what colleges they go to if they go to college, etc.
Okay, so let me hear from Chowdhury. Assalamu alaikum, Zahra.
Walaikum salam.
So
I put educational inequity, and kind of relating to what Midian said, but I'm privileged to go to a private school, and so in the past few years I've been able to work with educational inequity in Memphis, and seeing the way that even at an administration level, within SES and the board, and how people are so biased and so blind to the differences between these schools, and they're kind of like, they're so adamant and stubborn and like kind of like refusing to acknowledge these differences or these these disparities. So I think that it, like, a lot of, like, you'll see like so many parents showing up to every single like monthly SES meeting, but if the, like, so many people are involved in this, but if the people in power don't see any problem with it, nothing's gonna change.
Got you. Okay, so I want you to write on your notebook. I want you to write the world as it is on one end, like on the left, and then I want you to write the world as it should be on the other end of the paper. So, you know, if you column, there's the world as it is, and then the world as it should be. So the world as it is, most people have educational inequality, and that's it. Food deserts. And then, so I want you to write whatever you wrote. This is the world as it is. This is the problem. Then I want you to write on the other end, the world as it should be. What should it be?
How can we figure out what's the right way to use something? Unless you try it differently.
Can whoever just came, can you turn your mic off? Sabria, don't. It's 5:12. If people aren't here by now, just don't let them in because we started and it's too difficult to let people join in late. Alrighty, everybody got that? Nod your head, raise your thumb, something like that. And Sam, you got that? All right, cool. Okay, what's in between those two? If you could put a word that defines that space in between the world as it is and the world as it should be, what word would capture that? Samir, what word would you put?
You got me while I was thinking about it.
Oh, all right. So, alhamdulillah. All right. So I'll give everybody. I set the timer. I'm sorry. I'll set the timer and give everybody 1 minute to think. What's in between those two?
Check the comments also. Check the chat.
Okay.
I'm going to let one more person in.
Do you know?
He's waiting for a second.
Wait, could you specify exactly what you mean? So what's in between the word? Wait,
the world as it is and the world as it should be. What is the missing piece there? Like what could be described as the missing link?
So what's preventing the world from being what it should be?
What it should be.
Okay.
All right. There we go. All right, Samir, I'm going to come back to you.
I mean, the one thing that just popped up to my mind was humanity. I mean, when you're talking about the world as it is and everything that's going on in it, most of it is tied back to people's personal ego, personal whatever kind of benefits them. And the world as it should be is more so looking out for more than just yourself and sacrificing more than just yourself. So maybe humanity and sacrifice, those two words. But
hey man, you're trying to slide 2 words in there, man. I said 1.
I know. Sacrifice
right.
humanity.
All right, give me Khawaja, Iman Khawaja. What we got?
I had just written imperfection on my page, but I think it's imperfection in many, many ways, in like our ways of thinking. And I think imperfection in like knowledge would be the main thing. So I guess the word would be ignorance for it. So
you're trying to pull a Samir here, sliding 2 words in there. So imperfection in knowledge. Or I'm gonna slide this other word in there. Nah, we're not doing that. So imperfection. All right, Layla. This is probably no pictures.
I think the one word I would say would probably be disconnected. Kind of going off of what Samir and Iman already said, but that there's a lot of stuff going on that we're just not like it's hard to connect where we are, where we want to be, and I think that disconnect is where we lie.
Okay, so disconnected, imperfection, humanity. We have greed, compassion, politics, arrogance. Huh? Oh, okay. All right. So, Darbo, Fatima Darbo, give it to me.
Assalamualaikum.
Right, so.
I was also thinking greed, just kind of, I feel like a lot of times it's not even that we don't know what issues we need to tackle, it's that we're too greedy and like, you know, selfish to even care about tackling it in the first place. So yeah, I also say greed.
Okay, so I want y'all to write this word down. Tension. So, Taysir, what does that spell? You have that good Rhodes College education.
It spells tension.
Tension. The difference between the gap between the world as it is and as it should be is tension. If you look, even if you look at Sirah, the Prophet ﷺ saw a different world. He wanted his society to look different, and he had to. There's a tension there. There's a stressor there. There's some stress there that has to be addressed in order to get the world as it should be, as you would like for it to be. That's why most people just go along and get along, and you can say, hey, look at this problem. And they're like, man, you know, what's the big deal? It's not that big of a deal because they don't have any tension. People who are bothered by things, there's a tension inside of their soul, and there's a tension inside of them. And that's why when they talk about certain, you ever see someone who gets really tense when they're talking about something really that they really care about? They get tensed up. Zahra, you ever see it? Zahra, you're making me tense with your, no.
Yeah, no.
Zahra, go ahead. What's that?
I said a lot of the time, and like I've gotten feedback, especially from people closest to me. I do it a lot when I get very passionate or heated up about something.
Yes, there's a tension there. So the world as it is and the world as it should be, there's a tension there, and the tension is often between these two words: self-interest. Put that Rose Cosby. Yeah, there we go, Miriam Taysir. Self-interest and self-sacrifice. So, for example, what is your particular interest in being here, Sally?
I feel like it's my duty.
Oh, so we're having some tension on the. Is this? Am I being frozen?
No, I think that's Sally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And me and Zoom and being frozen. I have trauma from my being frozen.
Just because there is.
Are you there?
Yeah, maybe my phone's overheating.
Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear anything I said?
No, not really.
Oh, okay. Can you repeat the question? Because I forgot what the question was.
So you have a self-interest.
Yes.
Currently, you have an interest in being here. What is that self-interest?
It's my duty not only as a human but also as a Muslim. Just because injustice isn't directly affecting me right now, personally, as a single, it's not directly aimed at me, doesn't mean that it's not aimed at my fellow brothers and sisters in humanity, my fellow brothers and sisters in Islam. And I feel like it's our duty as humans and as Muslims to stand up for those injustices and know how to address them.
So if you're standing up for somebody else, that's called self what?
I'm standing up for somebody else.
Yes, that's called what? Of these two worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Self to stand up for somebody else, you have to give something up.
Sacrifice.
Self-sacrifice. So we're all self-interested. Is there a difference between being self-interested and being selfish? What's the difference of being self-interested and being selfish?
Selfish is solely doing it for your own sake. You're benefiting something from it.
All right. What's the difference of self-interested? You can wrestle with it for a minute. Let's wrestle with it for a minute.
May I give it a go? Steph?
Hey, I don't see a picture though, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I leave it off for a little bit? I'll come back on. Is that okay?
And I'll give you a pass right now. Go ahead. And for those who getting on late, I need to see a picture. I don't like talking to black screens. Go ahead.
Here we go. Here. Let me just turn this on. Just for you. Just for you, Steph.
Yeah, mashallah. That beautiful face.
Mashallah.
I
was trying to eat too because
it's all good, man. It's all good. We all eat. It's all good. All right. What's the difference between self-interested and selfish?
Selfish is purely my own interest. I don't care about anybody else. Self-interest, I might have a care for somebody else, but I might also have an interest in caring for that somebody else.
All right,
that's
how I'm. Example. Give me an example.
Okay, so earlier you asked the question, what is your self-interest in whatever activism that you want to be part of?
Yeah.
The first thing that came to my mind was I don't want to stand in front of Allah on the Day of Judgment, and when I'm asked, what did you do with this opportunity where you could have done something, and say, oh, I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my self-interest, the akhirah.
Okay.
Standing in front of Allah. That's my self-interest.
Okay. So selfish would be you, what? Not caring about other people in order to get something, or what?
Yeah, so an example of selfish would be the first example that I can think of is regarding money. A lot of people profited from the crash, the market crash earlier. A lot of companies profited from it. They didn't necessarily, I don't know, they may have not, but the pharmaceutical companies.
Sally's partners. Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm just messing with Sally.
Go ahead. No, I mean, sorry, didn't mean to play.
No, I'm just playing. Go ahead, it's fine.
Yeah. So in that case, we all know that people are there who will because of any regard for anybody else, they will do things for purely selfish reasons. They don't care about what happens to people. That in my mind is selfish, pure selfishness.
Okay. I got you. All right. So the difference between the two, it could be said that selfish and self-interest, when you start defining your self-interest too narrowly, it becomes selfish. Self-interest, all of us here have a self-interest. Everybody does. So when your self-interest becomes too narrowly defined, like I want this. I give an example. So I went to Umrah in February. And for those who've been to Umrah or you've been to Hajj, you see how people behave when they want to touch the black stone. Right? Samir, what would you describe people's behavior when they want to touch the black stone?
Inhumane.
So you were saying selfish?
Yeah.
So when they go, they just have a self-interest to touch the black stone. But the minute they start pushing and like disregarding other people's concerns, they become selfish. Now, when you're activists generally think all they're doing is self-sacrifice. I'm sacrificing for somebody else. Self-interest and self-sacrifice generally do this dance with each other. Because that tension, when you're confronting someone else about their being selfish, you're asking them to not think about themselves so much. So, for example, with what we're going through right now, with the whole, like, they didn't, not charging the police officer, and now, alhamdulillah, they charged them with, like, murder. Sometimes district attorneys have a self-interest on charge.
Is he frozen for everybody?
Yeah, I think so. I thought that was mine.
For me.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Charge this person, I may lose my job. Everybody got me?
Your thing went off, so you need to restate that.
Oh. All right, so I forget it. I'll come back to that one later. So, now, write down these two words: issue, ISSUE, and problem. PROBLEM. An issue and a problem. Now, somebody tell me, these drivers, man. I don't want to ask these drivers questions, man. I don't want these guys driving into somebody.
Nah, yeah, come through. It's all good.
No, man. I want you to pay attention to your driving. All right. So, tell me the difference between an issue and a problem. Let's see. Who's there? All right. Tell me the difference between an issue and a problem.
An issue and the problem?
The issue. Something that's an issue and something that's a problem.
Okay. Ooh.
Everybody else think about it. Everybody else think about that.
Brother Malik, can I take a guess?
Hey, certainly. Go ahead. As long as you can pay attention to driving. Yeah.
Issue is like, at least from what I think, in law, for example, we call anything that could be a problem an issue. Whereas a problem is something, okay, we're stuck here. We need to figure our way around this. An issue could be something we get stuck around, but not necessarily. We need to look a little bit further into it. I don't know if that's what you're getting at.
Okay. So an issue is something that could be a problem, and a problem is something that you're stuck with.
Yeah.
Or an impact. Okay. All right. Anybody else?
I'm gonna take a try. I think
Certainly.
an issue is a lot more broad than a problem. So I think a problem, like an issue, has multiple problems within it. So like a problem is like, well, I can't think of one off the spot, but like a problem will have one solution, while an issue will be multiple problems all together, and you're gonna have to find solutions that
Okay, that's a good one. So problems are multi-pronged, and they have a bunch of issues. And issues are what? Just a single thing? That what you're saying?
I kind of said
no, the other way around.
Opposite, yeah.
Okay, so say it again.
So I said that like issues are multifaceted. They have problems, but problem is just one. But if it's the opposite, then sorry.
Okay.
I think it can be the opposite too. It can be both.
Oh. Okay, what do you think?
I mean, a major problem, like we have one big problem, and there can be many issues that are causing that problem. And I think Ezra said it too, really very nicely in her, in the chat. It reminded me of an engineer talking.
Okay.
She said in the chat, Ezra said, let me pull up the chat. Where we go?
Problems
Sorry
can be.
for my engineer talk.
No. It's very simple. I mean, not simple. It's very straightforward. I don't mean to say simple in a negative way. To me, it was simple because, you know what? I'm just gonna be quiet.
That's fine, man. No. So here we're not doing school. We're not doing right answer, wrong answer. You get 0 points, something like that. We're not being pretentious with each other. We're not gonna hold people's iman in account if they do something that we find that everybody does something inappropriate. As long as you're not being really, it's okay. The difference between an issue and a problem is something an activist needs to know. It's essential that anybody who's going to be an activist knows the difference between an issue and a problem. An issue is something that if you get a couple people together, or you get an organization together, if you get a business leader together, it's something you can do something about. For example, let's say we all live on a street and people come by and they're speeding, they're constantly speeding. So, Brother Usman has to come out, throwing rocks at people, like, slow down, screaming, the kids on the street. That's an issue. Because we can go plead to the city to get speed bumps put in, and that will slow people down. So that's an issue. You can get enough people together to fix it. A problem is something you really can't do anything about. And sometimes people who want to be activists think you can do something about everything. And that's just not true. There are some things in life you can do nothing about. For example, everybody got that? So a problem is something that you can't do something about. I know you're thinking, I didn't come to hear this. I came to hear how I can actually solve, how I can save the world. What are you talking about? I can't do something about it. This sounds so defeated. In fact, I'm thinking about getting off of there right now. So, for example, poverty. Can you solve poverty? Is poverty just an issue? You know how people say, like, oh, I want to fight like poverty. Is poverty just an issue? Anybody?
The problem.
It's a problem? Okay. Isra, with your engineering brain. What is poverty? Huh?
Poverty. That's kind of complex to me because I'm thinking it's an issue that I think if everyone collaborated, it could be solved. I'm thinking like the concept of zakat, for example, of how we have that system in place so that we can solve the issue of poverty within a community. So I think it can be solved. So I'm going to say it's an issue if everyone collaborated and worked together.
Oh, okay. Iman Kawaja. Poverty. Yeah. Issue or problem?
I think that there are parts of it that I would say are an issue.
No. We're not cutting it like cake. This isn't a pizza pie. I said poverty. Not, I think if I can cut this pie, I can eat a little bit of it. No. So, is it a problem within an issue?
So then with the way our society is set up, I would say it's a problem.
Okay.
That could never be completely gone.
Okay. All right. Fatima Habib. The Habibs. Fatima. Assalamualaikum, Fatima.
Assalamualaikum.
How you doing?
Good. Alhamdulillah. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah. Glad to see a Habib here. All right. Poverty. Is it an issue or a problem?
Initially, I was thinking problem, just because It's very like vast and worldwide. But when Esra contributed her zakat idea, it got me thinking a little bit that maybe it could be, I don't know if it would be like 100% solved, but maybe it could be reduced vastly with community work.
Am I froze?
You're good.
He froze again. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to pull this up on my phone. Okay, so what I mean by poverty being a problem is that we can't fix poverty. What we can do is solve the symptoms of poverty. So, for example, right? What's an issue? What's a symptom of poverty?
Hunger.
Hunger. Give me another one.
A lot of health issues.
What's that?
Like a lot of health issues.
Health issues. Girl, be specific. Be specific. Like, give me something specific. I know
Less access to healthcare.
Huh?
Less access to healthcare.
Okay, let's ask self to healthcare. Give me another one.
Poor education.
Okay, poor education. That's all of these are symptoms to poverty. But when you're talking about poverty, and you're talking about something that could really frustrate people. So as activists have to give people issues. Because if you give people problems, they'll just get frustrated and walk off. Man, you know what? Man, that's like me and Samir talking about, you know what, we about to go out here and play the Grizzlies. And we go ask Zulkarnain, hey, you want to join us? We're going to play the Grizzlies. Like, I'm not trying to lose. I'm not trying to be on a winning team, a losing team. But if we said, you know what, man, we're going to go to this area and these kids, they're really not being educated well. So we're going to go over here and provide tutoring and try to lift, the reading scores up, maybe by like 10 points in the first semester. That's a what? What is that? Is that a problem or an issue?
An issue.
You're good.
Oh, that's an issue. We can do things about issues. Problems are things we just talk about, and a lot of times it's ego. You'll find people who talk about problems, it's their ego, and it's almost like they're trying to, look how woke I am. You don't know about this problem. Oh, you don't know? Man, let me tell you. And then it's a problem. You're like, well, I can't do anything about it anyway. You just want to tell me that you're smarter than me, or you're more socially aware than I am about problems that I can't do anything about. So you really don't want to, problems, you want to kind of stay away from, or at least break them down to be issues. So I'll give you an example. There's a young lady who called me yesterday. There's an apartment complex here in Memphis that they're basically gentrifying, they're remodeling, and they're gonna kick these people out. They're raising the rent like double within 5 months by end of the year. So she wants to kind of fight it, this isn't fair. You shouldn't treat people this way. These are, a lot of them are refugees and things. So I told her, yeah, I mean, I feel you. What's the real problem though? Them having their rent raised, by doubling their rent, is that a problem or is that an issue? Usman, what you think?
It's a problem.
It's a problem, right? What's the problem?
Rent.
Yeah.
Rent.
I'll give you add something there. It's in an area of this. It's in the city of Memphis, in an area that's being gentrified.
Mm.
What's the problem?
The people, where are they gonna go? They'll be forced to.
That's an issue. You can fix that. You can solve where they go. There are plenty of apartments in the city of Memphis. Memphis is full of apartments. That's an issue, right?
Is the development the problem?
No, think a little bit deeper, man. It's being gentrified. It's inside the loop. It's inside the loop, so it's closer to downtown.
Mm.
What's the problem?
I think someone else had their mic on too.
Oh, those
Somebody was trying
behind
to answer the question. I couldn't hear them. Not me.
Samira.
Maybe.
Samira.
Is it
Okay,
incoming?
Samira said the problem is those behind the gentrification. The problem is affordable housing and brushing up against capitalism. That's a problem. Can you fix that enough to where those people won't have their rent doubled? Can you really do anything about it?
No, I don't think I can do anything about capitalism.
Can't do anything about that.
Mm-hmm.
It may be, and what you'll have to come to grips with often in activism is that something can be morally wrong, but be legal.
Mm.
All right, so make sure you write that down. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's moral. So, for example, within our own community, we would all agree selling alcohol is morally wrong. We agree?
You're good.
So selling alcohol is morally wrong, but it's what? It's legal.
It's legal, yeah.
It's legal, right? So this is that tension, the world as it is and the world as it should be. And you have to know what to spend your time on. So this young lady, I told her, you need to write, or you need to contact Steve Cohen, because this is not an issue. You're not gonna go to the apartment complex and say, you don't raise their rent. Because he's like, why would I not do that? Like, this is my business. My business is to make more money. I'm remodeling the place. I'm going to double. It's worth more now. So the issue is getting them a place to live where they won't raise the rent, which means they're going to be in a place that's probably not being gentrified, which is a place that's not being invested in. And that's life. And we can make that place, a lot more palatable. We can do something about that issue, making it a place that's, nice and, communal. Because this is a community. It's refugees from like the Congo and Burundi. But having someone freeze their rent is a governmental action. That's not an activist action. Like, that's something you need to push on the government to create affordable housing and not, move refugees around, because it's not a stable environment for people. All right, you understand it too? Yes, slavery was legal. Wasn't moral, but it was legal. And what you're doing in those senses, you're trying to push up on somebody's moral conscience. And as a religious community, we're trying to push on people's moral conscience. And when you're talking morality, you're talking about tension. And you see this in Sira with the Prophet ﷺ, when they would say, I love Muhammad ﷺ. I love Muhammad. I just don't like what he says. What he's saying is creating tension. I love him as a person, but what he's saying, man, I just can't. Man, to the point where we have to, how can we silence him? Because his words are creating a tension. His physical presence is not, but his words are. So we have to get comfortable with that there's some things in the world that you just don't want to engage with, that it's just not worth engaging with. Now, there are other issues that are. So it's almost 5:45, and I said we would close today a little early. We'll normally go to 6, but today we'll close at 5:45 because we don't have the book. But I would like to hear from, we have a couple road students and anybody can go to the University of Memphis. I just want to hear and tell me one issue, one thing you'd like to see changed at Rhodes. I'm frozen.
We heard you. Don't worry. We heard you.
Oh, okay. So, Taysir or Hayata or Sam or anybody else who's at Rhodes. I know it's on your mind. So the reason I'm asking is I know it's been on your mind. So tell me something at Rhodes, and I want you to put it, is it an issue or a problem?
I can go first if Sam.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, there's so many, but I think the one thing that I really want to see next semester is more Black and people of color professors that we receive our education from. And I think that that is an issue because I think it's something that we can solve. We can hire more of these faculty members.
All right, that's an issue. Yeah, you can say that's an issue. All right, University of Memphis. Uzair, Sabria, I don't know who else goes to University of Memphis. Oh, University is great. Dr. Rudd is doing an excellent job. There are no issues at the University. Mashallah. Everybody's transferred to the University of Memphis.
Nah, it's all good. 1 second. I'm still driving.
I'm sure Uzair has something to say.
All right, Uzair, what you got?
Or not.
Oh, alhamdulillah. And you can think about this next week if we don't have anything. Okay.
Wait, sorry, what was the question?
Oh, Iman goes to Rhodes. Okay.
Wait, is there one to answer now?
Oh, what you got, was there?
So you said an issue that we can solve at UM?
No, just tell me what's the problem. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think at least one thing that I've noticed is well, I guess that's more of a problem than an issue.
Tell them to get ready. I'm sorry, say that again?
Well, what I thought of, I just realized it was more of a problem than an issue. Because I was thinking about so U of M has a steadily increasing like sexual assault rate cases. Okay. Like they're just increasing every year, but
right.
It seems to, I guess it's more of a problem because there's not only just regular people doing it, there's also a supposed sex trafficking ring around, at least around that area. Well, maybe not at the U of M specifically. So I guess that's a problem. Oh well.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So alhamdulillah, thank everybody for coming. This week, next week we'll go to 6. Please make sure you get the book. Again, the book is called Towards Sacred Activism by Imam Dawood Walid. We'll end here after I had a previous appointment that I need to get to, inshallah. But next week we'll go to 6 o'clock. Jazakumullah khairan for coming out and participating, and hopefully, inshallah, we'll really benefit and do things that for the city of Memphis and for the Muslim community that will take us further ahead. So we'll end with reciting Surah Asr, like the Sahabas would do when they would depart from each other. So Uzair?
Oh, yes.
All right, go ahead and you can lead us in Surah Asr, all right? Ready? Bismillah.
Okay.
All right, I'll go ahead.
Sorry, I'm still driving. I'm on the highway.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَصَّوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَصَّوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Inshallah, I'll see everybody next week, inshallah. Have a good week. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum.